Today's video is sponsored by MAONO, more on that later on. Hey, what is up guys, Guitar Rock here, welcome back to another Blue Archive video. Alright, so it's been a while since we've last talked about any tier list on this channel. So I figured 2023 is a new year, plenty of new meta characters coming out soon. So hopefully we'll be able to refresh the tier list, give you guys an updated one. Now a quick disclaimer though, a tier list for Blue Archive is going to be a bit complicated. Ideally, lots of characters are going to be useful. Definitely when you're tackling the harder content, the higher difficulty rates, things start to look a little bit different, alright? Meta characters can shift around indefinitely. And also do keep in mind that a lot of characters right now in the game, there are some of them that still don't have the unique equipment yet. So that is going to basically determine some of the characters' usefulness later on. Things might change later on. For example, Yuka recently got her unique equipment right here, Yuka Scientific Calculator, and this has been proven to change or alter the characteristics of some characters to make them slightly stronger than before. So something to always take into consideration. And also there might be some future rates, future contents that some characters might excel at. But with that being said, let's talk about Blue Archive tier list of 2023. Alright, so before I proceed with today's video, let's talk about MAONO. Today's video is sponsored by MAONO. They sent me a microphone for review. MAONO PD200X is a USB XLR dynamic microphone. Let's unbox it. RGB and MAONO link. So it looks like that. So this is just the arm for you to be able to put this microphone. Ooh, there's a gold accent right there. So one part mounts to the table. Okay, very detailed technical specifications. Very different unboxing experience. Alright. The microphone itself. Plenty of accessories. So this is a USB right here. Very cool. Very cool. Magnificent looking microphone. Whew. Alright, here it is. And yes, this is how it looks like. So we can try and focus here. You can see there's a button for mute, and looks like there's a dial for you to control your volume or headphone monitoring. Wait, hold up a second. MAONO PD200X. So let's talk about this microphone, alright? You guys can hear clearly right now I'm using that USB and XLR microphone. So this microphone has all the features. A custom dynamic capsule, even has controlled RGB lighting. Look at this, look at this. You want to see colors? Ooh, red. What color is this? Orange. Okay, this camera, I don't think my camera can pick up the colors that well. That's green, that's blue. But yeah, trust me when I say this has RGB. So it's a very well constructed microphone. The sound quality is actually way superior than my previous microphone as well. I'm pretty sure you guys can hear the differences right now compared to my previous one. So yeah, big shout out to MAONO for sponsoring today's video. So with that being said, let's jump into the video. Okay, Blue Archive tier list. So we're going to try to split this up to the following categories. So we're going to start off with very solid starter, top tier. Now I know it's going to be a little bit tough when we're talking about tier list, and the reason why is because when we talk about Blue Archive, plenty of these characters right here, each of them pretty much have their own usage. Alright, so they are kind of strong. For example, if you look at Ares, she is really strong in Perorotzilla raids, but in other raids, she's going to be subpar. So ideally, it's going to be quite hard to gauge how strong a character is, because each of them, I would say, have their own individual usage. But there are some characters that are much more flexible. Alright, so you can't deny that something like Akko is going to be much more flexible. Something like Hoshino as a tank is going to be much more flexible and can be used in more raids considerably. Alright, even if we talk about in story, in PvP, she is going to excel slightly more than Ares. So it's going to be, you know, a little bit of a complicated one, but I would like to emphasize on this particular tier list in terms of priority of which students you want to pull for, especially if you're new to the game, which one is going to be your priority, right? The characters that you gotta have first, the characters that you must have before you proceed to branch out to the other characters. So with that being said, let's talk about the very solid starter, top tier characters. Alright, so after crafting through countless hours looking at the list of the characters. So this is what I've come up with. So let's talk about all of these characters individually. I'm gonna need to turn off my face cam because I'm blocking certain characters right there. Bam. Alright, so let's talk about each of these individually. First things first, we have Swimsuit Azusa and Azusa. Now, the reason why I put them in this list as the top tier characters is because of their flexibility of their usage. Now, Azusa and Swimsuit Azusa, you might think that, okay, these characters, they are only useful in their respective color rates, which is not true at all, because Swimsuit Azusa, if you put her in your team, she has the ability to reduce enemies' defense in her sub skill. Alright, in like a passive skill, you don't need to use her EX skill at all, so you can just slot her in. She's pretty flexible. She always have a 30% chance of decreased defense by 15% when attacking, and it will always last for 13 seconds. So this is always pretty good. Alright, and then you look at something like Azusa as well, which is also really flexible in that sense. Yes, the ability to always decreasing defense of the enemy is something that's just invaluable. Alright, you can't deny how valuable this is for most raids. Definitely it's not going to be that useful for PvP, but the ability to decrease defense outright in a passive skill, that means you don't have to like activate their EX skill. It doesn't matter how much cost the EX skills are. As long as they are there, present in the team, they will be able to bring you the damage for the rest of the characters. Now, Cherino has a similar concept as well. The reason why Cherino is very good is her ability to give you cost recovery. Now, cost recovery is really strong. Like, you can definitely feel a difference. If you have Cherino in your team versus no Cherino in your team, it's like a night and day separation right there. Alright, having Cherino definitely gives you the flexibility. It's just way easier to do things. You have the ability to give everybody regen, and therefore you have more regen, you are able to cast more skills, you are able to cast more heals depending on which character you want to move more often, right? So that just gives you a lot of flexibility, a ton of them. And the good thing is you don't need to use her EX skill. Alright, it's 5 cost, but you don't have to use that. Same applies for Swimsuit Hoshino. Now, Swimsuit Hoshino is going to be kind of similar concept, except for her, you actually need to use the EX skill. Now, her EX skill is going to be very strong, providing you a ton of flexibility, a bunch of just a pure damage buff right there. You can see increased attack of everyone within the circle, and also increased cost recovery while an EX skill is active. So this is always going to be very valuable. You can definitely feel a difference. They tend to give you cost regeneration, extremely useful. Now, the next one is going to be Yori. Yori is a very strong character. Ideally, despite her being like a piercing type, you don't really only need to use her in yellow raids. She can fit in blue mystic raids as well. I've tried to use her multiple times when I was starting out to try to tackle Shirokuro and a bunch of other raids. She definitely does a lot of damage. For 3 costs, she is still very strong. Now, the only character that perhaps might be stronger than Yori in a piercing type department might be Mika, but that character is going to come way later on. Now, next up we have Swimsuit Izuna. Swimsuit Izuna is going to be super flexible. She provides lots of utility to the team. Having the ability to decrease crit damage resistance is going to be very unique. As far as I know, there's not much characters that can provide this. Unfortunately, she's limited. Once you miss out on her, you gotta wait at least 1 more year to get her in a rerun, right? Plus, she's a 2 cost unit. Very good just for cycling. Gives you a bunch of damage, so easy to cycle through. Now, Wakamo is kind of debatable, I would say. I feel like she can fit here, or she can fit in the slightly lower tier, like in between, right? But I do think that she is very strong, and right now she's very deserving. If you look at most mystic characters, I would say she's probably one of the strongest one damage wise. Now, when it comes to Tsubaki, this is a no-brainer. She is by far going to be the strongest tank in the game. Alright, no one can tank better than Tsubaki. She's just straight up a beast. She will always be there in the front lines, taking hits from every enemy in PvP, in PvE, it doesn't matter. Alright, now we have the supports. Alright, we have the special type characters that stays at the back. Hibiki is going to be able to provide you crit damage. She's probably the best raid type characters or explosion type character in terms of damage. Being a special type as well, she has the ability to give you lots of improve your team's crit damage. Serena, very cheap 2 cost character that can heal, and also if you need her to cheat certain stage to move characters around, she will be able to provide that. Kotama gives you buff to all your allies, very very useful in that sense. Iroha is going to be a little bit tricky, right? She does give attack buff, and you don't really need to use her tank, right? Her tank definitely gives you lots of utility. It provides a lot, but I do think that overall what you get most out of her is going to be her attack buff combined with this particular one, the artillery shell. This one actually does a lot of damage. The AoE is pretty huge for a passive skill that occurs every few seconds. It's actually very very useful. Next up, you can see we have Himari. Now this is going to be as strong as Akko. Himari and Akko is something that is in the meta right now in terms of supports. They give a lot of damage boost. Akko is much more of giving one particular ally crit rate and crit damage, whereas Himari is going to be hyper buffing the attack. So Himari is also one of the few characters in the game that can give cost regeneration. So something that you do not want to miss out. Himari is coming out soon, so please pull her all in. Alright, so there's no excuse right there. Swimsuit Shizuko, again, this character, very very invaluable. If you need a character, a special type that can move your character around, provide shields as well, like look no other than Swimsuit Shizuko. Alright, she just does a lot of things. Alright, she gives attack boost, she gives you shield, and also she is able to boost damage as well. One ally with the highest crit damage. So that's just very valuable as a whole. And then we have Mika and Toki. So these two characters are not yet available to global players, but according to a lot of JP players, they are the highest, most broken meta characters right now in JP. So this is something that we need to look forward to later on after Himari. So after Himari, if you guys are unsure of which characters to pull for, definitely Mika followed by Toki. This is going to make a lot of sense. Now, the characters that I put right here are Shun, Hoshino, Yuka, and New Year Mutsuki. This one, I would argue this is debatable. They can belong here or they can belong here. Like, they are really really strong, but I feel like compared to everyone else in the very very solid starter top tier characters, I feel like they might not be as flexible as the others. For example, if we were to compare Hoshino and Tsubaki, for example, since they are both tanks, right? I do think that Tsubaki still provides more, right? Overall, Hoshino, yeah, she's pretty tanky. She provides a little bit of different utility overall. She has the ability to push back damage. If you're looking for an evasion based tank, Tsubaki is the one to go for. If you're looking for a defense-based tank, Hoshino is the one to go for. I would say they are almost equal, but I still think that Hoshino is slightly below Tsubaki in terms of tankiness, right? And also, we can say the same for Yuka. Yuka has a different utility. If you have her unique equipment, right now she has the ability to do a lot of damage. So I do think that she's going to be very solid. And then Shun, debatable in PvP, she's very strong. She can belong here, but I'm going to put her here because in the raids, you don't really need her as much. But I still think she's a very strong and solid unit overall in a lot of story, in a lot of contents, and of course PvP, she's going to be very very consistent right there. Now let us proceed with the strong category. So there's going to be plenty of characters right here. Okay, so next up in this strong tier. Now this is going to get a little bit more complicated, right? So when we talk about strong tier category, this is not top tier, but they are still very strong. All right, these characters here in their own particular rates, they are probably the best in slot that you gotta have, and definitely I would suggest investing and looking into all of these characters as well, right? So let's first start out with Akane. Now as you can see, she is a 2-cost unit. She has the ability to decrease defense. Very very solid unit. Definitely recommend every single player to build her. If you need like a defense down, a 2-cost cycle unit, she's always going to be that. Chise is a no-brainer. She's an AoE mystic type. If you look for, or if you're trying to look for a mystic type AoE character, nobody fits that role better than Chise right now, right? So for a lot of players, it's also a cheap option because she's a 2-star. Maki, she's a free unit. If you do raids a lot, you will be able to buy her from the shop. But man, she is such a beast. Alright, if you're looking for a piercing type single target, she does a lot of damage. Haruna, same goes for her, but she's for blue type. If you max out her skills all the way to skill level 5, she will have her cost reduced all the way to 3 costs. Very very cost efficient. Highly recommend you guys to do that. Mutsuki and Aru, no brainer right here. So these two, Mutsuki, Aru, Swimsuit Hina, and then we have Swimsuit Yori. Very very strong explosive type characters. Although I do prefer Mutsuki compared to most of these other characters because she can place mines and she does a lot of damage in Kaiten raids and a bunch of others as well. Aru is also going to be very solid. Swimsuit Hina, same for Swimsuit Yori. These yeah, if you're looking for explosive characters, raid type characters, same goes for Sarika as well. Yeah, Sarika is very, very solid. She does a lot of damage. Onsen Adoka is going to be much more there for heals. Alright, she's one of the better healers in the special type category. And then we have New Year Sarika. Alright, so New Year Sarika is a damage dealer. One of the best yellow types for special damage dealer. And then we have Ui right here. Ui is going to be a little bit a mix of this. She can also belong here, depending, alright? I'm going to say it depends on the situation. But most of the time, she's going to be very, very solid if you know how to use her efficiently, because she does provide the cost, or she half the cost of a character. So that's just going to be able to give you a bunch of utility, right? Now, this character is free in the most recent event last week. Tracksuit Hasumi is one of the strongest Mystic type single target damage dealer right now, right? But definitely Wakamo still tops the chart. I think Wakamo is still slightly more valuable because she can do slightly more. But overall, if you're just looking for pure damage, yeah, I think she's going to be pretty strong. Although sometimes she doesn't really crit, which can be a little bit frustrating. Even after Akko buffing her, I can sometimes see that, okay, the damage is a bit lacking and it doesn't crit, right? But if she crits, it's going to do a lot of damage. So that's also going to be something that a little bit of RNG is still not as consistent. I think Wakamo still gives much more consistent damage overall. Again, Tracksuit Yuka, I do think that she's going to be very, very solid. Definitely she won't belong in the top tier, but I do think that she's a very good character overall to have, right? For Ghost raids, even can be used in the current Shirokuro as well. Koharu and Tracksuit Mary, probably one of the best healers that you want to have in the striker slot. Very flexible in that case. Bunny Neru, she provides a lot of utility for a tank, or you can place her in the front, alright, jump wherever you want in the map. Very, very strong in that particular sense. Midori, Momoi, or is this Momoi Midori? I can't tell who is who, but Midori Momoi very, very strong. Alright, you don't really need both of them. I do think that if you only have one of them, they can be very strong as well. I do think that if you have both of them together, yeah, they're going to shine as a whole. So Karin right here is going to be very, very strong character overall. If you're trying to look for a special type character, single target in terms of piercing type, she does a lot of damage. Same applies for Kazusa. Saki as well. Saki will be able to give you a little bit of small AoE, but she does decent damage. Alright. So and then we have Nonomi. I think everybody gets her. She's free. I do think that Nonomi, if she's a 4 cost or 3 cost, she would be like right here. But because she's a 5 cost, so I'm going to place her right here. Still a little bit high on the cost. The range is decent. But yeah, the cost is still slightly high. Akari, I believe one of the best 2-star as well, with the ability to give you, you know, explosive damage for a circular area. And then we have Saori, the best single target character in terms of explosion type if you're looking for a damage dealer. She perhaps can compete with Musuki, Aru and the rest, depending on what you want. You want AoE, or do you want a single target? Like single target, yeah, she's gonna do a lot. The rest seems to be much more focused on AoE, right? And then we have Hanae, she's much more a healer. And moving on, we have Swimsuit Ayane. So again, one more welfare character in the most recent swimsuit event. Unfortunately, you can't really get her anymore. You gotta wait for next year. Next up, we have these are the characters that appear in JP, but as of now, based on the information that I've obtained, this seems to be what their rankings are. These are the solid ones, not exactly top tier meta, not as strong as Mika or Toki regular version. We have Koyuki right here, and then we have Haruna New Year, and then we have Fuuka New Year, Nagisa, Haruka New Year, and Toki the maid version, which is the most recent character in JP. So you can see these are the characters that, you know, if you're looking forward to, any of these characters are going to be pretty solid. But I still think, you know, for majority of the players, saving for Mika makes the most sense right after Himari. Next up, the category that's worth building. So this category, we're talking about characters they are not like top tier or anything, but if you don't have these characters, you can probably try to borrow your friends' units, you can borrow from the club members, but still, ideally, it's still better to have these characters on your own so that you can, you know, have 2 versions of them. Now, this category is gonna get really, really complicated. As you can see, there's plenty of characters here. Yes, it's gonna get super messy. I do think a lot of these are pretty true. Alright, if you look at it, Swimsuit Mashiro, For example, she's strong in PvP. Alright, you can use her. She does a lot of single target damage, mystic type character. But in almost every raid, you don't really need her. Alright, so she's a solid character to do damage. But other than that, you don't really need her. Same applies to Small Shun. I think Small Shun is a strong and solid character. But if you don't have Small Shun, I think your account is fine. Like these other characters that they are not bad. Alright, a lot of these characters in this list, they are still worth building if you have them. But if you miss out on any of these, you can still make do with some raids by borrowing some of these characters from your friends or from your clubs list. Alright, so again, some of this includes the JP characters which I'm not familiar with yet, but based on what I've seen on the JP side of things, these are of the lesser priority, right? And moving on from worth building with the last category, the bad one, the so bad that's not worth building. So who is in this category? We got Burger Girl. Okay, Burger Girl is right here. Okay, surprising. Why am I surprised? Shouldn't be surprised. We have Irie right here. We have the Trash Can Girl. Okay, she's a bit more complicated. I think she can belong here as well. She can belong in the higher tier. I feel like she's on par with almost every single category of characters right here as well. Nadoka, I don't see any use of her at all in the game. Same applies for Juri. Not a single time I've seen any guys that use Juri. Same applies for Kirino. Same applies with, I guess Cherino Onsen might deserve to be one tier higher, but then, you know, Hair can stun as well, utility base. You know what, I'm going to push up Hair here. I do think that her utility is much more important, but the rest, I can collectively agree. Keep in mind, I do build some of these characters like Nadoka, for example. Mine is, I would say pretty stacked level 70, you know, 4 stars, but hey. But yeah, overall, this is the tier list. Again, this is just going to be my opinion based on what I've seen collectively, looking at all the other JP players and what they are using and what's the meta right now in JP as well. Things might change down the road. They do buff some characters by giving them the unique equipment, so take all of this with a grain of salt. But hey, overall, let me know what you guys think of the Blue Archive tier list of 2023. Do you guys agree with this list? Do you guys disagree with certain characters that needs to be higher or lower? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, subscribe if you guys haven't already. Give this video a like, and big shout out to MAONO for sponsoring today's video. Alright, check out the links in the description if you guys are interested. As always, have a nice day. Goodbye.